presentation before we get started with our building reports.
Rita, why don't you come on up and join us? I was in a state of panic. I was making notes, but it was on something else. I looked down and said January 14th. I said, so the right agenda over there. So tonight we're here to honor our Something Extra Award winner from the district, Miss Rita Bass. And I told her to keep her speech down to maybe 15 minutes. But when I got here 11 years ago, Rita was an outstanding classroom teacher in 6th grade at South Grove. They had the highest test scores in the district in 6th grade across the board, and that was because of her leadership. From there, she moved into kind of really a distant curriculum role, working at the middle school with our middle school English teachers, then working at the high school for a period of time. And then she finally settled into what we call the Director of Elementary Ed. The best way to describe Rita is that she's positive around her office. That's when she's there, because she's not there very much, because she's always out in our 3 elementary buildings. One of the hardest working people I've ever met. She's creative, always thinking outside the box. She goes, well, what if? Did you think about this? She's kind, she's generous. She's created so many school functions for us, tying into Children's Museum, which I believe will be coming here shortly. Tomorrow. She's taken our title program and articulated that and coordinated it K through 6, which has just been fabulous and not an easy task to do. She truly sets expectations high, both in our office, in buildings, and I know in her personal life. So Rita Bass is our Something Extra Award winner for this month, and we appreciate her hard work and her dedication.
You really do.
You do?
I usually love microphones. Thank you very much. So you guys probably know I grew up in Beach Grove, so I went to Beach Grove schools. I loved coming to school every day, going up through school, and I still love coming to school today. And you're only as good as your team. So I thank my team for helping me and supporting me along the way, and they make it easy. So thank you. Rita. Oh, so this one?
Well, the paparazzi's over here. We'll go ahead and move over to our building reports, please.
Well, welcome everybody. What we're going to do tonight is a little bit different, but we are going to have each of our principals, we have 2 Student of the Months at each building. So we're going to kind of maybe skip a little bit of our building reports. I'm sorry, I know they're the favorite part of everybody, but we'll just really celebrate those great young people that are here tonight. And we're going to begin with Hornet Park and Mrs. Probus. After the pictures, please stay around so that we can, or after the presentations, please stay around so we can get all of your photos. We will have some individual photos and with the principal, and we want to make sure we get photos with families too. So those of you that brought people along with you, make sure you get some photos with your family. So Mrs. Stevens will coordinate that after all of our presentations. So, thank you. Mrs. Probus.
Hi there, good evening. I'm Erin Probus, the principal at Hornet Park Elementary, and I love to brag about the school, but no report, it's fine. If you want to get caught up on Hornet Park, holler after, and I'll talk your ear off. But I have 2 wonderful, precious students to celebrate tonight as Student of the Month. And we're going to go with our December Student of the Month first, and I would like to invite up sweet Miss Cinnamon Edwards. Come on up, sweetheart. I have so many sweet things to share about you, Cinnamon. Mrs. Parsetic shares that Cinnamon is such a sweet girl with the sweetest smile to match. She's a hard worker, she's a joy to have, and she always puts forth her best effort in whatever she does. Mrs. Solar says Miss Cinnamon is just a doll. She has adapted amazingly well, and she always lets her know of any problems that she's having, and she asks questions. As Miss Solar was leaving on Friday, Cinnamon threw her arms around her neck and was giggling, saying, "Oh, please don't go. I want you to stay here with me all day long." Her smile and personality are contagious. Mrs. Mazer shares that Cinnamon's the sweetest, happily engaged in school, trying her best and helping others. She's a pleasure to teach and to work with every day. From Mrs. Reed, who's the principal at South Grove. See, Cinnamon's a student at Hornet Park, but she stops by the South Grove office every afternoon on bus routes. So 2 buildings get the blessing of hanging out with Cinnamon. Mrs. Reed shares that Cinnamon comes to South Grove every afternoon to ride the bus with her big sister. She's a true little ray of sunshine when she enters the office. She makes her rounds, passing out hugs, and everyone is happy to see her. She lights up our office just when we need it at the end of the day. We also hear from Mrs. Brown at South Grove, from Mrs. Corbin and Mrs. Jennings, and they all talk about what a sweet, kind, hardworking girl Miss Cinnamon Edwards is. So congratulations to our Student of the Month. You can keep it. All right, this is like double the fun. Now I get to invite up our January Student of the Month, Mr. Brody Cleaver. Come on down, Brody. Show that off. All right, Brody's entire teaching team had lots to say about him. Brody is a joy to have in class. Mrs. Shanahan says, she loves when you come out of your shell and show your happy dance. They call it the science shimmy. Brody is kind and gentle to all of the students he interacts with and a true example of a Beech Grove Hornet. Proud of you, Brody. Mrs. Schmall says that Brody is a hard worker in reading groups. He gets very excited when it's his turn to read and he loves learning. He recently passed another reading level. Was that just yesterday, I think? So, I mean, like, fresh, yeah. So, way to go. Oh, okay. Mrs. Wax, she says Brody has been such an awesome role model to the other students in the classroom this year. He's a quiet worker, an awesome listener, and he always has his hand up to participate. Brody tries his hardest at everything he does, and if he doesn't understand something, he is sure to raise his hand and ask for help. What a great way to learn. Brody is also very kind to his classmates, which makes him very well liked and a great friend to others in our class. He got a huge applause from his classmates when they heard me announce his name as Student of the Month. We are very proud of the effort and kindness that Brody presents on a daily basis. What a great representation for Hornet Park Elementary School. Brody Cleaver, Student of the Month. You get to keep it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Purvis.
Yes.
Now, a principal you can never forget, Miss Cotter, for Central Elementary.
Good evening, I'm Ms. Cotter, the principal at Central Elementary School. I have one of my Student of the Months here today, Mr. Kevin Day. Could you join me up here, please? Kevin exemplifies everything a Hornet should be. He works hard, helps those around him, and has a positive attitude. Kevin goes above and beyond to make significant contributions to the classroom and school environment. Mrs. Majors, his math teacher, stated that Kevin's behavior encompasses the 2 R's at Central Elementary, respect and responsibility. Kevin is respectful to his classmates by always making sure others feel included, and he is respectful to his teachers every day. Kevin is also responsible. He always comes to school prepared and turns in his classwork on time. He brings a lot of joy and happiness into the classroom. She talked about how at Community Circle you like to tell jokes, yeah, and can put a smile on everyone's face. Congratulations, Kevin. Hornet 3 is rooting for you. Mr. J described Kevin as a kind young man who regularly participates in class by contributing to class discussions. He shows respect to other children by using active listening skills when it's their time to share and be heard. Mr. J said, Kevin is a pleasure to work with. I wish more children had his positive attitude and kind heart. Miss Malinka, Kevin's reading teacher, said, Kevin is a great role model. He's always trying to do the right thing. Whether he's on the playground or in the classroom, you can find Kevin working well with his classmates. He always has a positive attitude and a smile on his face. I know I can depend on Kevin to come to school ready to learn every day. Tomorrow morning, Kevin will be recognized again at our 100 Days of Perfect Attendance breakfast. Not only has he not missed a single day of school this year, he didn't miss a day last year. He didn't miss a day in first grade either. So that is 3 years of perfect attendance.
Thank you, Ms. Cotter. Our next principal will be Mrs. Reed from South Area.
Real quick, I did want to remind parents that tomorrow night Studio of Colors is going to be here. It's a family activity night at the Hornet Community Center. We will start at 5:30 with dinner, and then we will go from 6 to 8 in family activities. So it is put on by the Children's Museum, so it'll be an awesome event. Make sure you got that plug out
For
there.
everyone's K through 8.
K through 8, yep. So come on over and join us. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Chloe Patton. I'll do ladies first. Come on up, Chloe. All right, this is Chloe Patton. She's a 6th grader at South Grove. She is the daughter of Kristen Ramsey and Brett Patton. Mr. Brewer, her 5th grade teacher, said Chloe Patton is such a sweet young lady, always has a smile and kind words for others. She is every teacher's dream student. You're going to hear a theme running through here. Mrs. Wood, 6th grade teacher, says Chloe Patton deserves this honor. Each and every day she comes to school with a smile on her face and a willingness to help others. She's an amazing artist and a sweet girl. We are so lucky to have her here at South Grove. And Miss Sayers, her 4th grade teacher, said, I had Chloe Patton in 4th grade. What a sweet soul. She can light up any room with her bright and bubbly personality. I don't think I've ever seen her with anything except a smile on her face. She has such a passion for art and a love for her family. She makes that apparent in any conversation that you'll have with her. Anyone would be lucky to know Chloe or have her as a student. She is deserving of this award. Congratulations, Chloe Patton. And maybe a little humble and shy, wouldn't you think? She ran away. All right, Landon Keys, come on up. This is Landon Keys. He is also a 6th grader at South Grove, and he is the son of Alyssa and Scott Keys. And Miss Walker, 6th grade teacher, says Landon is a student who tries his best. He is kind to others and responsible. Landon has the potential to do great things, and I look forward to seeing him achieve success as his future unfolds. And Mrs. Case, his 4th grade teacher, said, Landon is a kind and hardworking student. He is an absolute role model for his classmates and teammates. Landon was one of 4 students in my 4th grade class to have 100% A+ in behavior. And she says, and I grade pretty strictly by it. He was always first to volunteer to help whenever anyone was in need. He was an absolute joy to have in class, and any teacher was lucky to have him. And Mrs. Truman, 5th grade teacher, said, love, love, love Landon and his mama. Landon is a leader among young men. He is a natural in this role. He is a great basketball player and even better student. He is always aware of his actions, and he lets his kind heart shine through. He makes friends easily and is such a positive influence on others. So we want to congratulate Landon.
Thank you, Mrs. Reed. Next is Mr. Morgan from Beach Grove Middle School.
Ariana Weddle, come on up. Mrs. Sutton writes, Ariana is such a gift this year. I had the pleasure of having her first semester in my class, and she has such a sweet-natured, responsible, and kind personality. She strives to give her best effort always. I've seen her reach out to fellow classmates to help when she sees that they are struggling, and also to help encourage and correct behavior and effort when peers may be headed off course. She has the talent to do these things in a way that is uplifting and encouraging, never in a negative tone. She is always so incredibly polite in how she responds to requests, concerns, or even when she is corrected. She goes out of her way to tell me to have a great day or to simply say thank you when she recognizes when I'm trying to help and offer encouragement. I can honestly say students like Ariana are the reason I get up to come to school each and every day. Test scores and building skills are a very important aspect of our job, but on the human side, being able to connect and learn alongside students like Ariana is what sets my soul on fire. Ariana is a very gifted artist and an all-around great human. I'm very honored and blessed to be able to have her second semester while I continue to watch her grow in her abilities. Ariana, you are a wonderful example of a kind human and a responsible team. You are a true testament of pride in our hive as a Beech Grove community. Thank you. Emily Montgomery. It is with great pride and pleasure that the 7th grade English and Social Studies Department recognized Emily Montgomery as January's Student of the Month. On a daily basis, Emily demonstrates all of the Beech Grove's core values as well as many of her own. And that's only a small part of what makes Emily stand above the rest. According to Mr. Thayer, Emily is always a breath of fresh air when she comes into class because she always has a smile on her face. The girl is never in a bad mood. Never. What's more, she's a hard worker too. To have a positive, hard-working student in class is a teacher's dream, and that's the best way to describe Emily, a dream. And while she plays the quiet, shy card very well, she will blow you away with her ideas when she eventually deems worthy enough to hear them. We couldn't ask for a better candidate for our Student of the Month. Now, I want to preface this next one by this is Mr. Steve Morgan, because we're going to hear some things here that I would not expect from Mr. Morgan. Emily is sweet, pleasant, and friendly as a kitten in regards to how she conducts herself towards others and behaves in school. However, she has the heart and determination and focus of a fierce lion on the prowl when she is in her educational learning mode. This is why Emily will not only be successful in the future, but she will encourage others around her to better themselves as well. Emily Montgomery.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Just a reminder, please stay around after, and Mrs. Stevens will coordinate all the pictures. Just want to make sure we get everybody a chance to have these pictures for tonight. You can do that by making sure that you sign in, and we can get those pictures sent to you so you can have the memento of tonight's events. From Beech Grove High School, Dr. Walter.
Good evening. Oh, thanks, Jason. Can you tell your last name? Would you like to share who you have with you here tonight?
And Officer Ruth.
Chase Alford serves as a model student in our freshman class. He is kind to his classmates, one of our student athletes, and maintains a high GPA while taking rigorous courses as a freshman. Chase shows up every morning to assist other students in getting to class and does so well. He's one of our few 9th grade Renaissance Card Gold members and is a trusted member of our high school community. For these reasons and many more, Chase Alford is the High School Student of the Month. That's from Mr. Carr. Morgan Keith is our other, but we'll announce her later. Thank you.
All right, could I have the first group, it may not be completely in order, order, but this is how they are on my paper. But I have Cinnamon, Kevin, Landon, Ariana for the first group. I'm going to do your group shots first, and then I'm going to have each student have a photo with their principal. Then after that, I want it with your families to come up, okay? And I'll take
I may need 2 more minutes.
Are we gonna watch public press?
I struggle with these.
We could let Melanie go first. Melanie, you want to go first and start with the community update while he's getting this settled?
Just on the highlights, I don't know if you saw the story of Teacher Pay, we're in the air on TV6.
Yes, and my parents both separately called me to tell me that Dr. K was on TV. I thought that was funny. They both wanted me to know. In case I didn't see it.
If you didn't see it.
In case I
But
didn't see
here's
it
the
or didn't know.
if you didn't see it, the link is there for you to see. So, and this is Starkey Mr. Bullen does, along with Dr. Kaiser, did a great job. I think they explaining some of the challenges we have. You received an invitation tonight to Bill Baines' ceremony, so if you can, please make that. It's in the high school cafe, but we'll celebrate the rest of your as he goes last month to Maine for him. Also, Dr. Kaiser was heavily quoted in the January 19th Sunday Star discussing teacher pay. So I sent a PDF copy of the article to your Beach Grove address. If you didn't see it, make sure you look at it because that's another good article. If you need me to send another copy, it's Nick. And discussions are underway. We appreciate Mr. Nick White back there to form a collaboration between Bgsn and the Beach Grove Chamber to film short videos to highlight businesses. So we think that's a win-win for our students and for our small business in the Beach Grove community. So thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
The Education Foundation, the spring grant applications were distributed last weekend, and those will be due back in April, end of April. Horace Mann donated $5,000 to be used for special projects by our high school science teachers specifically because of tornado damage. That was what they did that for. So Mr. Goodwin went a big way, and he is getting 3 like ultra, he explained it to me, but I don't really understand it all. 3 very precise and sophisticated telescopes that apparently can see like some little dot on Mars or something. They're so great. So it was administered through Donors Choose, and what they did is that Brandon went in and posted the project. I let Horace Mann know. Horace Mann went in and completely funded the entire thing. And we're talking about, for his project, $4,100 worth of telescopes. So really impressive. So we thank Horace Mann, and Mr. Goodwin is going to do that. He said with the students, obviously, but he also said he would do some community programs with those since they're so wonderful, such wonderful telescopes. So a little bit about what's been going on there.
Are you ready for that?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. If any of our guests would like to, pull your chair up, you can see a little bit.
If you guys want to pull a chair up here to this side, we can maybe pull it back a little bit.
We don't have the best setup here, like our boardroom, but everybody see that? Dan, how do you see it?
Oh, yeah.
All right. I can see it. All right. Well, what I want to do is, if you remember during our summer presentation, we talked about data. We talked about our students. We talked about the importance of kind of the early childhood center and getting students off of that positive start. And so we talked about iLearn, that one-time snapshot of our academic proficiency, where they're at on this state test. And if you listen to anything in the newspapers or NPR, whatever you listen to on a daily basis, you've seen a lot of the scuttlebutt about the test, and a lot of people don't even say the word. A lot of districts don't because they don't believe it. So, like we talked about, there are things that we do believe in our district, and those specifically are some of our research-based growth assessments. So tonight, what I've asked each principal to do is to just kind of provide a basic update of where their building's at with their fall winter growth. And what we have found is that iReady, in particular math, came out and said that they found out that students' academic success on iReady directly correlates with their success on iLearn. So they took that linking data and determined that it's a very close correlation. So if we see that they are being successful in iReady, and getting to that growth level that they should be successful on I-learn. So we can show you where we're at in that regard. So what we're going to try to do tonight is just to provide the fall to winter growth data for each building. So thankfully each of our building principals has taken the time to put together just a little presentation, nothing overwhelming, but just kind of give you an idea of where their kids started and where they're at today and where we hope to have them come April when our testing comes around. So we'll start out with our Great Mrs. Probus. I'll run the agenda, I'll run the board for you tonight.
Do it.
I'll run the board for you.
Oh, and then I'll hold my card.
Or you can take it.
I want to be
Can I pre-ask a question of each principal?
Sure.
And then after you get done, you can answer it, give you some time to think about it?
Sure.
What is the biggest issue that you have as far as your test scores improving? What is the biggest issue that each building faces? Whether it's funding,
Number that.
it just whatever it is, I would like to know what that is from each of you. You can answer that later.
But I would actually like
Okay.
to leave with that answer because then I can show you how we're trying to overcome that.
Okay.
I think the biggest obstacle for Hornet Park is the difference in readiness in kindergarten. But we are working as a community to resolve that, right, with the early childhood center. And so we have such a wide range of students that come in for kindergarten and such a very high percentage of kindergartners that come in at what is considered typical beginning of kindergarten. But you think about that conceptually, and it's hard to even say what would be a typical August 5-year-old kindergartner, right? Because it's all students straight out of the gate. But so many of our students already come in at a disadvantage because of lack of readiness. So that I think is our number one obstacle at Hornet Park, helping them not start off the race behind. But what we do is we very much have a strong investment and ownership in the I-Learn scores that they do start taking in 3rd grade. So we are invested in that, but that is several years removed from our day-to-day work. And so we have a blend of local assessments we've created or developed, along with nationally normed assessments that we use that do align to all of the other buildings. Because we need both day-to-day data and then intermittent check-ins. And so I just wanted to share a few pieces. Yeah, and so you'll share common threads as each of us share this evening. So I tried to pull not only what's most important and most leading for us at Hornet Park, but also what aligns to the other buildings. So first, it was regards to reading. The number one indicator that we measure is Fontes and Pinnell reading level. So that really tells us, can students decode words and can they comprehend that which they are reading? And so we see in kindergarten, at the beginning of the year, students who are atypical, what was considered for kindergartners, we were 8%. Well, right? That goes back to that readiness piece. And so here at middle of the year, we had 54% of kindergartners where they needed to be, which is huge. 1st grade started at 56%, and we moved up to 62%. So overall, at Hornet Park, with the actual act of reading and understanding what they read, and that is assessed one-on-one with the teacher. It's not on the computer, it's not on a paper, it is actual performance. Overall school, 32% that were at or above grade level at the beginning of the year to almost double at 58%. So we are super proud of this. This assessment takes place formally in the school beginning, middle, and end of the year, but our teachers do what's called progress monitoring, and that's every 6 weeks. They're assessing children on their reading to move them so the instructional level matches their need. So this is that which we probably reference the most frequently. But then periodically, 3 times a year, beginning, middle, and end of the year, we take the NWEA test, which is a nationally, actually internationally, normed assessment. This is on the computer, and it's for a 5- and 6-year-old. Even the Mount for Primary Grades test is about 52 questions. So it's a laborious test for the boys and girls. In kindergarten, they came in, their mean RIT, and RIT is just their score, it stands for Rosh Union, it's just their score, was a 134.6, and what would have been typical would have been a 139.6. They grew up to 145. So they're making incremental gains. You see they're slowly closing that gap a little. They were 5 points within, and now they're just a little under 4 points within. 1st grade, we were at 157.7, and we're up to 167.7. So we're making gains. Now, this is good because it's looking at actual reading level, but this kind of encompasses all of the areas that go within language arts in general. So it's kind of skill-based. So the number that I've listed down here is our window between our grade level performance and what is typical. So we were within 3.2 of the mean RIT in the beginning and 3.0 middle of year. So that's telling you that we're inching closer to typical. And also at NWEA, they share that statistically speaking, if it's within 4 points, that's within their standard deviation or their standard error. And so it's not considered significant. So we're really performing very closely to the 50th percentile of what they consider the normie data. So in reading, we get that through fine tier 1 instruction, which is general instruction for all students. But then we also have reading interventions in place. So every teacher is really committed to a reading teacher, guided reading groups. So students get whole group reading instruction that is on grade level, and then guided reading groups are according to their specific reading level. We have Title I services that we call Kids Club. We have level literacy intervention, and Rita has led that charge with our Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventionists. Then at Hornet Park, you've heard me share how each of our related arts teachers are paired up with one academic team, and they are pulling, anytime they're not teaching their music, art, STEM-based class, they're pulling kids for extra help in reading and math. We also, due to Rita's work, we have a lot of partnerships with Marian University. They're giving a lot of help, as well as partnerships with Dr. Walters in the high school. And then finally, we have a school-wide intervention block from 1:30 to 2 o'clock each day, and that is where every student is in the classroom. There's no interruptions during that time, and it's to give extra help, small groups. So they're not at specials or recess or anything like that. So every building staff member provides extra help. So that's a reading snapshot. And if you'll go on to math with Dr. Bear. We're going to speak iReady language tonight when we share about math. The table on the left is looking at, this is more the individual student learning track. So in iReady, there is individual lessons students take that are catered to their performance level, so it adjusts as their performance improves. So really, we're looking at each student and how they're passing those individualized lessons. So in kindergarten, it went from 61% to 63%. First grade, 96% to 84%. The target is really at least 80%. So we really didn't see a lot of move there, but that's showing that we're not losing a lot of ground either. And that's just, are they passing those individualized lessons? This is looking at their growth in math. It's called year to date, and I like to think of it as like the thermometer. How much of the year growth have we achieved? When we tested, we were at 45% of the year complete. So that wouldn't have been, we would expect to see 45% if we were meeting growth expectation. But kindergarten had year-to-date growth of 63% and first grade 48%. So as a school, 56% of the year's growth completed at a 45% marking point. Very similarly in math, we have grade tier 1 instruction with curriculum associates, but we also do guided math groups, those differentiated iReady lessons, intervention groups, and that school-wide intervention. So that's reading and math snapshot. Any questions?
Ms. Cotter.
Thank you.
I've been working on her name.
Practicing all day. On yours. To echo kind of what Erin said, I think it's the starting point. We have to remember where kids are starting, and while they do an awesome job at Hornet Park getting them caught up, they still are coming in at second grade a little bit behind, and that's what is shown right here. You can kind of see, and I started with math. I love math. I was the former math teacher, and started with reading. So if you look at this, this is our overall math data, and the red is our tier 3 kids, which is 2 or more grade levels below. So at the beginning of the year, we had 34% of our students at Central in that category. By winter, we've moved to 16%. Then in the yellow, that's our middle ground. They're 1 grade below. So 8 to 63, and then this is really where I focus a lot. I focus on red, seeing those numbers decrease, and then on the green, seeing those numbers increase. So at the beginning of the year, overall, second and third grade in math, we only had 7% testing at typical. In the winter, it was 21%.
So when Dr. Bear was saying, I ready, I learn, that really, this is kind of where we were in winter. 21% would have been expected to pass. So hopefully we'll see that number continue to rise, so that way we can see the correlation there. I know when I took over this position, I pulled out that math data and our iLearn scores, and I was drawing numbers, doing comparisons, and we were right at what we tested. It was in the 30s with our iLearn data, or I'm sorry, our iReady data and our iLearn. So it's kind of expected. The good thing about this is the growth. We see growth happening. Overall, our school goal at this point was 50%, and we had 51% growth. In second grade, we saw more growth. There was 58%. In third grade, it was 44%. I also compared to last year, because I was curious. At this time of year, we were at 46%. And in third grade, it was a little bit higher, but we also have 2 brand new teachers to third grade, so I attribute a little bit to that. Second grade is on the rise. I attribute that to having the iReady curriculum in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. I think we're going to continue to see this growth progress now that we have the same curriculum throughout. This is also interesting. These are the iReady differentiated lessons. They get pushed out to the kids based on their own individual level. And you see we're having success. So in the fall, the lessons, they were having a 92% success rate. In the winter, they went up a little bit, 94. In third grade, you had 78 to 89. So these kids are working on closing that gap at their individual level. So if I have a kindergarten level and I have a fourth grade level, we're showing that we're meeting our goals for each student. So that's good news as well. So that's math. Thank you. So here's our NWEA reading data. And N, the black, is where our school was, and then the green is where typical is. So again, we're starting a little bit behind. Second grade started at 167, and our goal was 174. We showed growth to the winter, but again, the target's moving. We're showing growth, but we still have a little bit of a gap there, 177, 184. By the end of the year, we're hoping to get to 189, so we want to make up a little bit more ground there as well. You can see third grade, 184 was where they started in the spring, in the fall, I'm sorry. And if you look to the spring score is 189. So by the end of second grade, they should be here, and we're coming in a little bit lower than that. Does that make sense? So again, they progressed a little bit, but we still have to work to close that gap. This iReady differentiated lessons, we're doing a pilot with 1 second grade team, so 3 second grade classes and 3 third grade classes. They are piloting the iReady online lessons that we do in math, but they're doing them in reading, and you can see their individual scores. So 68% in the fall, they got kind of used to the system. Now we're at 74 in second grade, and then a bigger growth in third grade. They started the year at 55%, and now they're at 70%. So again, these are their differentiated lessons based on their own ability. As far as interventions, we have guided reading groups going on every day in English language arts and in science and social studies. They're all using the Fontes and Fennell framework. Title I leveled literacy intervention, we call it LLI. We have gone from working with 6 to 7 students in Title I, and now we're down to 3 or 4. And what the teachers have said, they didn't want to do this at first. They said, oh, I have to teach all my kids. But now that they've done it, and they've been doing it for about a month and a half, they're seeing growth. Because they're making those connections, they're working more intensively with the small groups of students. So hopefully we'll see even more growth because of that. Some of my third grade teachers said, hey, I want to do an after school club. We call it Reading Rocks. And I said, absolutely. So they picked a group of students that are hardworking, that are just under where they need to be. We call them bubble. They're right there, but they need a little extra push. These kids have good attendance. They try hard. The parents are committed, and so they're doing a reading club after school to help get them where they need to be. And then another thing, the iReady pilot. In math, we're doing guided math groups, and then the iReady differentiated lessons. I've had a couple of math teachers approach me. They want to do some after-school clubs as well, so we might be doing that in the future. But I really really think the differentiation piece is going to help us to close our gaps where we need to be. Because that's hitting the kids at their level and it's closing that gap. Any questions?
So I think you can start to see the trend that we're always kind of a little bit behind. And so that's what we're really hoping that the Early Childhood Center does, is provide us that extra 2 years to get them where they need to be so that they are typical when they come into the kindergarten classroom, where, as Aaron and Steph both just indicated, we're always kind of chasing our tail, and we're getting growth, but we're always struggling to catch up. And we are trying, our challenge is how do we get 2 years of growth in 1 year, and that's hard to do. So that's just kind of why we're so dedicated and passionate about this Early Childhood Center.
And unfortunately, the statistics and the research show that if a student is not caught up by grade level by 3rd grade, that gap continues to increase rather than decrease. So that's where, when you look at South Grove's data, you are going to see that it starts getting bigger and bigger again. And so that is not only so important to get the preschool, but also to make sure that we are providing every opportunity that we can, K through 3, pre-K through 3, as much differentiation and as much core instruction and help as we can. Because if that gap doesn't get closed up, it's going to be very, very difficult. And anyone can attest, the same students, unfortunately, that are in Title I in 6th grade are the same students that are struggling in 9th grade.
Last summer, I know we did summer school, but I don't remember the specifics about it, but it seems like it was at the high school. Are we gonna focus more this summer on summer school for these kids? This spring to fall?
Summer school's at the high school, but we had everybody we had South Grove kids all the way up.
Are we really focusing on this 1st and 2nd and 3rd grade? Because that sounds like
Yeah, we did, and that's where, and I'm thinking.
2nd grade spring to 3rd grade fall, that looks big.
You're right.
3rd grade has to remediate IRE if they do not pass IRE. So we have to have that core group. But like the kids that K through 4, 5, and 6, they had to be committed parents, committed kids, the bubble kids, that we thought we could push over the edge. Yes.
I'd love to know, Dr. Kaiser, when was the last time we had a demographic study of each girl?
Dr. Boyd did one probably back in 2014 or 15, so we do have another one done, which is a great comment. One of our core values and beliefs is that there's no excuses. And the key thing is you're seeing some growth. But what we haven't pulled out, we talked about pulling this out, is looking at the data from the kid that starts in kindergarten at Beech Grove and goes through 6th grade. I think we're going to see a difference, because remember, the reality of it is we have a 30 to 33% transient population, and all that means is kids come and go. And we really believe, with the articulation that Rita and the elementary principals and Steve have put together, that those kids that come to Beech Grove and they come ready to learn and they stay in Beech Grove, those kids grow. And for those who are on the board, remember our test scores in the past? That's when we had maybe a 15% transient population rate. And it's not that the kids aren't good kids, they are. But they come in and out. Sometimes, especially in the elementary, they'll see a kid in the fall, they'll leave in the middle of the year, and they'll show back up in the spring. And that makes a huge difference. And that's one of the data points we've talked about, getting together for you as a board, so we can really look at that from an academic standpoint, from a grade standpoint, from a test score. Our beliefs and research would support it. If they'll stay in a structured system, we do better.
If we can't hold the teachers and the principals accountable for a quarter of our population that we only have for 8 months and then they're going again. So, it would be great to have those numbers to give to the community to say, look at the numbers when they're Beech Grove kids from this point to this point, they do great. It's how can we teach a child that comes to us in 1st grade and we're trying to teach them how to.
We have like, what, 200 2nd graders?
Roughly, yeah.
How many potentially might go to summer school this summer?
So
Needed and should go.
That's a good discussion that we can have. I think last year and the year before, we've been focused on iReady and remediation there. I know a few years ago, though, we did do summer school K through 3 at Central. And I think that's something that we can explore again to really get some of these kids caught up.
And the state has done a much better job of funding elementary summer school. And again, one thing that we continue to talk about is having more after school. We have youth programs over fall break. That's why programs went to 2 weeks fall break. But sometimes it's challenging to get people to show up to do that, from a parent standpoint. So,
Was there any difference in attendance when we had the little kids summer school at the high school or the little kids summer school at the school? It seems to me like it would be easier to walk to Central or South Grove.
We provided transportation. I was there this summer and I've been, we had it at South Grove, the numbers were about the same. It's the parents that have to commit to getting their kids there, right? Because I would get on the phone, the kid's not here at summer school today, we really need them here, or they may not be there, or they, so it's the commitment from the parents. That's what's going to help the children grow. Because we can offer all the programs. We offer breakfast and lunch. We provide transportation. They got 3 hours of extra work, in those couple weeks in the summertime.
The centralized location is outstanding for us, for our food service.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, then we eat all those programs that are going on also at high school. So our numbers there increase dramatically in a wonderful way. But I completely echo the frustration of getting a commitment to make sure that they show up.
Absolutely. We have 2 questions.
We talked a little bit about, the student transient population. What do we see when teachers leave at semester or teachers leave halfway through the 9 weeks? How does that?
We have to catch them up. I mean, honestly, we have to catch them up. I think what's exciting though about the math data is it was pretty steady. There was a little dip in third grade, but overall, and we have 2 new third grade math teachers, but overall, we did better than last year. I was one of the math teachers last year. We lost a really phenomenal math teacher, Casey Miller, and so we're still growing. So that's exciting. I think having that curriculum K through 6 is really, really aligning us. It's helping us. Even the student intervention plans. If a student is put on an intervention plan at Hornet Park, we print them off. We look at all of that so that we can follow the kids to make sure that they're reaching their potential.
and I think to emphasize that, what's really taking place with the curriculum structure, it's a little bit easier. 40 years ago, I began as a first-year teacher, and they hand you a book, they say go teach. When they come to our school district, we have a curriculum in place, and we didn't have that 6 or 7 years ago. That's really come on board since Rita and Steve have taken over with Mary at the high school, so we've really made it easier. But when those teachers leave, it's an impact across the board. If you're there at 9 weeks for the semester and you're on course, all of a sudden you have a teacher. It doesn't matter what grade level it is, that impacts. And
The new materials that we have, it's pushing our teachers because what we've been doing hasn't given us results that we want. So a lot of difficult conversations sometimes with, well, what you're doing isn't working. So let's do this Fonsis and Pinnell. Let's do it with Fidelity.
It's been a big shift and a philosophical shift. But so as I've told you guys before, the standards changed in 2014. So things became more difficult. They became at a deeper level. No longer can you teach a student how to take a test and be successful. You have to think. You have to know how to read. You have to be able to compare things. You have to analyze.
Solve.
So, I mean, it's no longer just go find the answers.
We were really good at teaching them how to do that.
Right. So, what we have brought in as a system and a belief, it's a philosophical belief, is back to the basics of reading. And that is where the students are doing 80% of the work and the teachers 20%. Because what we're finding is that teachers are working harder than our kids, and we're feeding them what we want them to know and learn, and feeding them is not giving them the opportunity to learn. So the Fontes and Pinnell balance framework that we're bringing in is truly getting books in the hands of students. It's teaching them reading behaviors that are not go find an answer to a question. It's can you decode words? Can you look at why the author's craft? If there are pictures in the book, why did the author put these pictures here and how did they relay that message and connect to the words that you're reading? It's truly thinking. As a librarian, you probably, I mean, like you would love it. But it's different. It's truly, and as we say, we are giving them curriculum, we're giving them the resources. They have to work. It's hard. It's not easy. It's fast-paced. It's getting books in students' hands. It's getting kids to talk. That's been a big difference.
That's our big push. Whoever's doing the talking is the one doing the thinking. So if the teacher is standing up there giving all the information, they're doing all the thinking. The children aren't doing the thinking.
Right.
So, and in the Fontes and Pinnell, it has small guided reading groups, which at South Grove, we haven't done small guided reading groups. We were whole group, teaching whole group. And now we are pinpointing who needs what according to their reading behaviors, and it's pushing the teachers to learn. And then result our children will be learning as well. So it's a
huge shift, but it is the right shift. It's the pendulum. The pendulum has swung, and it is. Kids have to think. Kids have to express their thinking in their words and in their writing. It's not regurgitation and sit up and listen to a teacher lecture.
And if I could, I should have inserted the video that Deanie Horn videoed her class last week. She had a small guided reading group at a little table. And while they were reading the book at hand, she got up and videoed her class. And they were doing independent reading. Each child was doing independent reading, and they were all engaged in what they were reading. And it was all different books, and they were laying all over the classroom. But that's where we want to get the kids to be, is loving what they're reading. Because when you love what you read, then you want to read, right? We have a lot of kids that they don't like to read because it's been so difficult, and they haven't had all that extra help. So we're pushing that as well, is that love of reading. So it's a really neat video. Like she walked around, she was, it's a win-win for me today. You could hear her say that. It's a win-win for the kids because they were all fourth graders completely engaged in what they were reading. So
I want to make sure
it's exciting.
I have two questions. They are really related, but they kind of aren't. One just came to mind while we were talking. So if we have a teacher that, now, if a teacher quits, that's one thing, but if we have a teacher we know is going to be going on maternity leave, do we ever bring the teacher in that's replacing that teacher to work with the kids 2 weeks before she leaves so that that teacher is like up to speed and knows like what they're used to? And then my other question is, do we have any statistics comparing successful kids to the participation of their parents in our school system, as well as those that aren't, and what we could possibly do to entice, coerce some of those parents to help some of the kids that are not doing this well?
Well, for the maternity leave, I've had two this year. I've got one on maternity leave right now. Yes, we have the subs come in prior to them leaving to work with the teachers so that they get, I mean, it's not going to be what the teacher does.
Sure.
But at least they have an idea. And one was a special education teacher that was on maternity leave.
Oh, wow.
So we had the gal come in. Unfortunately for us, she had just finished her student teaching in our building. So we just kept her. And we're going to keep her through the end of the year too. She's doing the rest of her student teaching right now. So yes, we do, at least at South Grove, and I'm going to guess everywhere else, we try to get them in there so that they know. And then the second question, like Dr. Kaiser says, we can't control what happens with parents. We try to pull them in. We can't control that. It's not an excuse for us. So we just have to pick up and do what we can for the kids while they're in our building.
I'm going to address that though. I'm going to say, I'm going to speak from a different perspective. Because I have done all the Title I parent-family events, and I've worked with Wonder Labs out of Bloomington, I've worked with Children's Museum, I've worked with Conner Prairie, a lot of different agencies. And every time they come to Beech Grove, they say this is the best school as far as parents coming, parents being engaged with their students, students and families participating, and just like they would say, usually parents line up against the wall on their cell phones and let the kids go. It is not like that. And number one, staff is about the kids showing, or the teachers genuinely showing a genuine concern and love of their students. Every single time, and I'm telling you, hands down, from all the different agencies, they commend our parents. So all I can say is, as much as, you know, they are doing the best they can, and if we can continue to provide opportunities for them to come in, our EL families have, they've started participating in all of our things. I mean, so I think it's just
We just keep offering.
it's my positiveness that is coming through, but I hear it from other people. So I'm hearing the good. And so
I'd kind of like to piggyback off of that a little bit, is that there's obviously a lot of parents that want to be
absolutely
involved, but then sometimes they don't know
what to do or how.
exactly what to do. Because, you know, my wife being a teacher, she knew that if you go to the teacher store, you can pick up a little workbook that says grades 3 through 5, and over the summer you can during the long trips on the car, you can say, hey, do this worksheet or do this activity. So my question is second and third grade, is that the age in which we do take home activities, not, you know, half an hour, just a 5 minute, are we sending the type of at-home activities that the children can do?
Absolutely. And one of the things that we talked about in math, specifically with the changes in math curriculum and parents struggling at home, is videotaping math lessons and putting them online so that parents can help their kids. I know I have a second grade daughter, and tonight my mom had to help her with math homework, retired CPA, and I'm sure that she'll miss one of her problems on her homework because it's just different. They have to think through steps, they have to show work in a different way, and I think a lot of our parents have expressed interest in knowing how to do the math. The new math is what we say. So if we can get some lessons recorded and help them with that, I think that would help with that as well.
Well, the beautiful thing about iReady is that it shows the children how to, it like runs through a lesson, like it's a little cartoon lesson that they can watch, and a parent could watch with them, and then they have some practice problems, and then they take a little quiz on it. So, and that's at the student's level. So it may not be a 4th grade level, it might be a kid working at 2nd grade level, but parents can watch them do those
Those are
lessons.
activities that are sent home.
Yep.
Okay.
And I've also purchased through our intervention system. I have gone through and purchased, because the system is for all of our kids in Title I and the book club or the after school club if they're doing it. They are supposed to get a book sent home with activities and things, and the Hornet Park Kids Club does the same. So I make sure that we have our resources, we purchase them so that they are going home with the kids. And I will also say, I'm gonna brag on the parents again, that over the past 3 years, our attendance for Title I meetings, we have at least two a year, sometimes 4 a year. And the attendance have gone from maybe 5 parents, you guys usually had maybe 1 or 2 parents. They had maybe 5 or 6. We are up to offering a morning meeting and an afternoon meeting, and we're at least 30 to 35 a meeting for and that goes for 8th grade. We even had parents come. So, and you know what? They're asking for help. They're saying, can we get some help? So I bought resources. We send resources home with them. They send like strategies. So we are working on getting better. We are improving, and the parents are improving.
And we celebrate their
Just
success
need to
and
keep
they
doing
come back too. Like when they bring it back, you know, Jennifer Doty will take pictures of the kids and post them on the wall. I have them come down for a good news visit when they bring back so many books that they've read. So we're definitely getting it out to them.
Yeah, our lowest level, we're really hitting the lowest level of readers like we've never done before. I observed a classroom this afternoon at 3 o'clock, And the teacher sent home a book for the kids to take home and a little page
And
that
they
they
were
had to do some
excited.
writing on and drawing. They were so excited to take this little book home, but it was something they could read, right? It's something on their level and they could read, and they could go home and read it to their parents, so that was fourth
With
grade.
that being said, you can see the passion of our principals here.
Yeah.
Lesson structure and pacing, I know there's.
Sorry.
But we are going to be doing some more of these short little presentations for updates as we go throughout the year on different, foundational pieces of our instruction. But I want to make sure that we have time for the rest of the board meeting because I know we have to be out at 8:30.
Real quick, Janice, I have a couple articles of how student success correlates to not just parent but guardian, because we have a lot of that.
Yes, right.
And also extracurricular activities, how better a student doesn't have to be sports, but anything that they're involved with after school, how much better they do in school. I'll sit up.
And I've been to a couple of our evening programs. I think I've been to 3.
Yeah.
I think at least, but we have a lot of parents come to those.
Yeah, 300.
Yeah, no, and they do, they walk table to table, so.
Hopefully we'll have that big turnout tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, yeah.
Yeah. So just trending exactly what Torrance Park and Central have said, our biggest problem is catching up those that are so far behind, yet challenging those that are far ahead. So you might have a classroom that has a 10th grade reader and a 1st grade reader, and you're sitting in 5th grade. So it's taking care of all of those kids in between. But you can look at our data. We use the same data as K-6, NWEA for our reading. You can see our achieved growth for our winter testing. And then I shared our fall reading writs, and then you can see the growth that they made to winter. And the number in the parentheses still shows us just a smidge behind.
That's the average nationwide.
That, yeah, this is us, and this is where they should be, right? That's the norm. That's where they should be at 202. We're at a 201.5 in 4th grade. Look at my 5th grade. They're at a 204. They should be at a 209. And then my 6th grade, they're at a 211.5, and they should be at a 213.5. But we saw growth from fall to winter. And I'll tell you, I don't know how the kindergartners or 1st graders take the test, because I have 4th, 5th, and 6th graders that sit down to a 52-question test and just about lose their minds. Like, it takes time. So kudos to you guys for getting it done. So we do that 3 times a year. Then iReady Math, same trends as they see. They give great reports, the iReady Math does. They do. They give great reports. So like, I can look here in grade 4, and I can see in the fall, we were at 16% in the green, and now we're at 29% in the green. And then we were at 48% in the yellow, and now we're at 53% in the yellow, which tells me they're growing, right? And then in 5th grade, we were at 20% in green, and now we're at 36%. And we were at 46% in the yellow, now we're at 37%, and the red is shrinking. And then in 6th grade, we were at 25% in the green in the fall, now we're at 37% in green in the fall. So they've grown, and it grew, and it went from 36% in the yellow to 35%, and the red went from 39 to 28. So they are growing in the right direction, but the yellow means they're still a year behind in math. But I will say, before I pass it off to Ryan, that the 7th grade teachers, now that the kids have been through iReady Math for 3 consecutive years going into middle school, they have made comments that the kids are coming in better math students. So that makes us happy. And the same sort of interventions that you've heard in the other buildings. Same sort of interventions. That level literacy instruction for our lowest of our low readers is going to be huge. Title I reading instruction, catching up our lows. The small guided reading groups done in class now that we weren't doing, we were doing all whole group. And then also our science and social studies teachers teaching reading skills. That's going to be great as well. iReady differentiated math lessons. That's where you're seeing all the growth as well. So it'll be interesting when the kindergartners that get to sit in 5th or 6th grade and they've had both Fontes and Pinel and iReady all the way through. It'll be interesting to see the growth for sure.
Before you start, I got to share a fun story about the tree. When I first got on the school board and I went into the BMV, and she was sitting there, I'm like, what are you doing at the Beach Grove BMV? Well, I have a former student that's trying to get his driver's license, and I thought I'd tell you. Remember that?
I do. I do.
That's the kind of teachers that we have.
Yeah. 30 years strong.
So kind of to answer your question, starting for us and kind of these tests here for NWEA and iReady and iLearn and all the different tests that we give, apathy is probably one of the biggest hurdles for us, and just getting a 7th and 8th grade to buy into the importance of taking the benchmark tests so that we can use that data, because sometimes they will fly through it in like 20 minutes. It's normally takes 60 to 80 minutes, and having them retake it. Again, just trying to convince them. So as you look at our NWEA data here, our 7th grade data is not the greatest right now. We do expect that to grow. Our 7th grade ELA staff is completely new this year. So that plays a factor in. So the cut score is supposed to be at a 216, so you can see that we are behind currently. Our 8th grade data is fairly good right now, and that's where we've had the most continuity. So it's a 216.1, and the cut score is 218.7. That's where they should be, so we are really, really close there. As far as our iReady math is concerned, you can see with our 7th grade, we've got about 60%. So again, what Tanya was saying, of approaching growth there. So there's been some good gains there. Our 8th grade at about 55%. So decent growth in the math area. Our PSAT and SAT data, I'm sure that Liz will talk a little bit more in detail about this, but our 8th grade students have performed at a decent level for the last 3 years there, when you consider it to the state average there. So I want to touch on a few of our interventions here. We've added quite a bit of instructional time since we moved to the block scheduling for language arts and math. We went from 180 hours a year to 240 hours. So we really bumped up the time when we went to that block schedule, which I think has been helpful for our kids, and hopefully we start to see some of that at the freshman level, that block scheduling, because I know that was always a big hurdle of going from the traditional schedule to a block schedule. So we've added Title I math interventions, so we've targeted about 60 of our highest need kids, and really focus with Mr. Whitten and some math interventions there. Our after-school tutoring numbers have jumped up quite a bit. We're at about 40 to 45 students 2 days a week. So that's been a good thing, and that may be something that we visit adding a 3rd day to as well. Our HEA continues to grow and continues to be successful. I can tell you countless stories of kids that have really, really struggled as a 7th grader, either academically or behaviorally, and they go into the HEA as a 7th grader, and they come out as an 8th grader, and then they're in the traditional setting and just have really flourished. So that has been a blessing for us as well. So I appreciate your continued support with that. After looking at the data, do you guys have any questions for me?
I think it would be hard to get buy-in for a middle schooler for anything, so I appreciate that.
We're working on it. Thank you.
As Liz comes up, I tell you what, the emphasis is our kids taking the PSAT and SAT in middle school. I think that's critical to help them in high school down the road. So
Is everybody does it, right? The PSAT? Oh, no, it's still optional in middle school? Oh, okay.
it just ends that HEA, for those who know, that's our Horn Enrichment Academy we put in place 3 years ago at the middle school. A lot of success stories with that in there.
So this is a soapbox for me, so I'll ask Dr. Vera to cut me off after 30 minutes. No, in reality, this snapshot is really indicative of our climate in education right now, in the sense that this conversation is happening outside of these walls quite a bit. So you're seeing a move and a shift away from SAT and ACT at the collegiate level. We're about 3 decades into that argument that students have to perform on this test in order to be able to graduate from a 4-year college, and there being a shift from that argument. So the good news is there is that shift. The conversations with pathways, the conversations about whether we're going to have the SAT or the ACT at the high school level for that accommodation, for that state test. However, the problem is for about 3 years, we've had a moving target. And from an administrative leadership standpoint, I don't like, because our teachers work hard enough already, and certainly a conversation that you would be able to carry into the community. We don't want our teachers to be jumping after a moving target. So we've really taken this not from an excuse standpoint, because we can throw all of those out there with trauma and resilience and socioeconomic status and transiency and all those things, but it's just one data point against many that's happening in our schools. Because that moving target, especially we felt K through 6 with the move to iReady, iLearn with K through 8, and then of course everything that's changing at the high school over 3 years. We haven't put a lot of meat behind looking at this data from a trend standpoint, simply because of that. We're not sure where it's going. This year is a pivotal year for that reason. So we started, knowing that was happening 3 years ago, to start looking at that transitional data. And so what this kind of tells us is very natural for students in transition and students that don't have resilience and trauma. And that's simply that the harder the math gets, the harder the test gets. And so we need to be sure that our kids in the face of that trauma have resilience when they're moving from Algebra 1 to Geometry to Algebra 2, because that's what's indicated on the PSAT moving toward the SAT. So we look at that data, we're implementing that in PLCs. We will start looking at that trend data a lot more heavily in PLCs, and once they make that decision, we'll be able to really dive into that data at the instructional level with the teachers, which is where it's going to have the most impact on kids. Again, soapbox very quickly, I will say it's not that this data doesn't mean anything. There are a lot of things that you could build into an excuse for this data. We use it as one data point because ultimately graduation rate is what we measure at the high school. It's not how much a kid knows at a certain point in time on one certain day for 5 hours when they sit for a test. It's over the course of 4 years, what they bring, everything that we've taught them from growth moving forward, and to be able to meet those demands at the end of that 12th grade year. Questions?
27 minutes left.
And that was a drop the mic.
Well, I have a question. From listening to kindergarten through 6th or kindergarten through 7th, it's been very reading heavy, reading. You focus on reading. If we get everybody reading, it'll be great. Did I just hear you say with this, the harder the math gets, the more people fail?
So, and from a district historical standpoint, Rita and Mary and I have actually had this conversation quite a bit. We put a lot of emphasis on reading over the past decade, and this is my 5th year. So when you look at, yes, students' performance, students are going to perform on a single test with the content that they carry to that test. So everything we look at with the state charging us with science and reading and math standards change at the 6th grade. And that's I think, fairly similar with reading as well when you look at those skills. But the difference between foundational math and arithmetic versus the ability to apply with algebra and then build toward algebra 2, it's, I think someone used an analogy earlier, it's like the kids are sort of on pace and we're getting them to grow, but then they need to grow faster when they make that next jump. And that jump is very indicative of that 10th and 11th grade year when kids are being exposed to algebra 2, but tested on content of algebra 2.
And as a district, we have been heavy reading. You are right. We have, and then 4 or 5 years ago, the math data was, it was very glaring. So we then changed, and we have to try to balance it out now. So it's math and reading.
My biology and math background.
But as you get into the high school areas, all the classwork, social studies, government, science, all of those word association and strategies that you learn in the reading areas, foundation, is really what that all the building blocks to be then successful in the application world where you're in. Is that correct? Because then you teach communication and you teach speech and all those other things, so that it's those foundational building blocks. So I don't think that we're wrong, that we shouldn't emphasize reading. I think that's incredibly critical. So I think that just fits right in.
It was just an odd
contradictory set
Can you go back to that
of
slide?
statements.
And I
that
do want
were
to make
just
sure
given.
that I mentioned, what we measure here is students that have met both benchmarks. I can certainly provide for you that historical data. Our reading and sort of writing ability on the PSAT is a lot stronger than our math, and it has been historically. So being able to balance that and make sure, because we're eventually just measuring students that met both, the math numbers pull that down right now.
I was just gonna say, because okay, the 10th graders that took it in 17, now they're in 18, that's 11%. It's like, oh, 28
So
to
you
11,
can-
so you go down, and it's
Right.
like, oh.
You can kind of equate, the PSAT 8-9 is going to cap out at Algebra 1 because kids haven't been exposed to it yet. It might pull in a few things, a few concepts for pushing
Yeah.
kids. But so, for example, like we talked about with Ryan, being able to make sure that we're looking at 8th and 9th and 10th. That growth between this 10th and 11th grade year is dependent on complete mastery of Algebra 1, mastery of Algebra 2, and knowledge of geometry functions. So what we find is the test essentially gets harder for kids that are already coming from a background.
These are likely the same kids?
A third of our population is transgender.
That shift totally makes sense to me because, I mean, even in gym, we're writing reports. So all that English that we're doing in other classes.
We don't find math happening as often in cross-content curricular areas as you do English.
Good catch, team.
Awesome, thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you, principals. As you can see, in July, we'll probably come back, June or July, depends on when I'm fishing. We'll provide year-end data and compare and correlate the iLearn results. Look at our iLearn results and see how it compares back to what iReady says is correlating data.
And we're in a study. I put it in a study with iReady
Right.
for free.
So thank you. I know it was a little bit longer than we wanted, but it prepared. But I appreciate all the great questions and feedback, and we just want you to kind of understand the passion of our team and what we're doing, and we'll continue to provide kind of updates on those things that we're doing in the classroom so you understand what's going on.
We also do a push, I don't know if we do this or not, do we do advertising for summer school like we do to register for regular semesters? I don't know, I'm just
We do.
not. Yeah.
I like your idea of pushing second, third grade.
That seems like,
Yeah, I think you're right.
after first grade, after second grade, those kids like offer it to every single kid.
No, I mean, but you run into a problem with childcare. And that's something that you sort of need that we need to take a look at. I mean, it's a half-day program as opposed to a full-day program. Yes, you feed breakfast and lunch, but
Yeah. And we are working, Angel Power has reached out to me from the Buzz Club. It's just a matter of if I can find the time. She's asked me to make a curriculum for her, which I would love to in my mind. But my time is, I'm not sure. So I'm gonna work really hard, which would
No, I
benefit,
totally get it, I just like.
because they could, you could tie the two together.
Also, we have some other ideas that we'll bring back to you later, what we can do in the summer. We had a sports camp we've done for a different number of years. I talked to Angel about trying to bring our sports camp back, excuse me, bring the sports camp back, and that can possibly tie into our summer school so it becomes a full-day program. So we've got some ideas on that. Again, a lot depends what happens on May 5th, quite frankly, just because of resources. There'll be a lot of things when we're successful on the 5th that we can have some flexibility with moving forward. So we've got some ideas on that.
Just something to think about. So, okay, we gotta move on. Not to cut everybody off, but I'm gonna shut you off. Is that everything for those two? Okay. We need a motion to approve the minutes from January.
I'll make motion.
Motion made, second? Any discussion? Nope. All in, Jen, I thought, wasn't it you? Yeah. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. We need a motion to approve the claims for January.
Second?
Oh, Rob and Rick? Okay. Seconded by Rick. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Public comment, we welcome. We have public. We don't usually have public, so welcome. We welcome children of all ages, whatever grade you're in. And we need a motion to approve fund transfers. So this is before we get into business. Do you want to give us any background or just go through them?
These 5 transfers are usual and customary. However, I do want to let you know that $750,000 moving from the education fund to the operations fund is our internal, personal, temporary loan instead of using the Indiana Bond Bank. And so again, I just want to celebrate that we're not paying interest. That saved us $40,000. So that's been a long time coming, 10 years. So that's nuts. So that's why that's such a large amount of money. Thus, when you look at the cash balances, you'll see a dip in the education fund. It's just sitting somewhere else being used for operations. And so that is what it is. The others are usual and customary, other than number 5, which is an excess PTRC tax amount of money that's been sitting in accounts for 5 years, and based on our last State Board of Accounts audit, they said close Fund 3655 and transfer that somewhere. So I'm asking just to plug it into rainy day. $26,109 will close out that account line because it doesn't have to be open. It's just sitting there. Other than that, I can answer any other questions.
Wonderful. Can we have a motion to approve those transfers?
I had a question about
Okay.
the,
Well, let's get a motion on the floor in second before we discussion.
I'll move.
Okay. We got a motion by Jill. We need a second. Please. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Now we can discuss.
was
Okay.
there actual refinancing of bonds on point number 4 there?
That's a increment that goes 6 and 8 years on 2 bond issues that were refunded in 2015 and 2015. So we are still on a schedule of increment. This has been going on.
Okay,
That
so it's not
increment,
anything you've
it's
done
nothing,
recently?
yeah, it's nothing new. It's something that when we went to the DUAB, Distress Unit Appeals Board, back in 2015, we restructured to 2 large bond issues and advertised the debt at a certain amount, and then there's an incremental amount that we don't have to pay the bill at the high amount, so that it allows for us to transfer those dollars for operating expenses. And this is going into our 6th year.
Okay.
So that'll continue 6, 7, and 8 years. So it's nothing new.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. Are there any other discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed.
I'll make a motion to,
What is this last line? Oh, okay, that's just,
personal.
yeah, personnel. I'm sorry. Yes.
I will make a motion to approve personnel.
Rick and Jill, thank you. Any discussion on personnel? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Need a motion to approve classified employee raises. And that was in our report.
I'll second.
I think Beth did it, whatever. Anyway, Beth and Aaron, I think. Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Right. Let me just keep moving on down the road. We're sharing because we shared our, with our guests. Okay, yes. Okay, we need a motion to approve the operation, to approve the parks mowing contract. We need a motion on the floor in a second, and we'll have a question on that. Anyone move that?
Motion.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Aaron. And discussion. I know, Aaron, you had a question on that. Is that new for us?
I think Mr. Garrett can fully explain the process that he's gone through in the last.
You had asked a question by email. I didn't remember seeing the answer on
Yeah,
that.
they did.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Just give the whole update.
Okay, yeah.
In the top portion of my report to you, we talked a little bit about transportation. Those mandatory bus drills are happening, and you have to have one per semester. The first one is rear door exit, I think, and the second one is a front door exit with driver help. We continue, as Misty wrote in her report here, we have hired 2 new drivers. They passed the CDL test. But we are still 2 drivers down, which seems to be the perpetual number of transportation. 2 drivers down. But those drivers were previously monitors, so now we're also down monitors. And Misty and Kevin are interviewed for those positions. And of course, we always effort to keep our buses safe so that they will pass inspection. And Tracy, the mechanic, and Kevin are working on that. In the operations area, we are extremely happy that yesterday morning, the first air chisel went against the wall. So that work has begun, and we will hopefully see a lot of progress in the next couple of weeks. Demolition is always a lot quicker than rebuilding, but our target date is the 1st of June to be completely done with that. So the fact that we started on time is very encouraging to us. So we hope that things will end on time. Also along with that, the common school loan that we're doing at the high school, including all of our student restrooms, corridor painting, and some other items, including auditorium restrooms. Our architectural drawings came in this morning, I believe, or yesterday. So those bid packages are being put together and will go out, and we will be getting started on that hopefully in a couple of weeks. Middle school and Central, part of their common school loan the last couple of years, included painting corridors and restrooms and doorways. We've had some problems with that. Both of our general contractors have stepped up and gotten their subcontractors back, and they are correcting the problem. Totally corrected the problem at the middle school, and we're going to a couple weekends at Central to do that. At Hornet Park, I think it was a year or so ago, we all talked about the night lock devices that went on the doors. We purchased 44 of those devices, and those will be installed here at Hornet Park in the next month or so. So back to the parks mowing bid. We solicited 4 vendors to give us quotes on that process. 3 of those did so. 1 of them chose not to. Parks was not the lowest. They were a few dollars higher than the other one, but we have a relationship with them, and everyone is very happy with the work that they have done for us over the last year or so. They were responsible for this whole campus here last year, so we are recommending that you approve that. Can I take any questions?
I have a question. With the mowing, the part that's part of Central's playground that goes behind the library, it was mowed twice last year. Is this the city, is this the library, or is this Central? Or is this part of the school system? Because if it's the library, I just need to know so that we can get our contractors on it. If it's the school, then it needs to be taken care of.
It is my understanding that that is school property.
Okay.
And that it's the whole area there is kind of unique, so it will be mowed.
Okay.
This time.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that it's clear, because if not, I'm just going to take it back.
I mean, it's just a couple of slides.
Oh, it's a pretty big
Yeah.
amount of space.
We'll get it.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure that it got done, because I mean, it was waist high, and the mosquitoes were awful, and we were getting complaints by the patrons that had to park down there.
I talked to Rodney last week to let him know that I was going to make this recommendation, and I will touch base with him again when I call him back to make sure that gets done, and then I will inspect it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Don't we have a grounds crew?
We do.
They can't, I know for a fact some of our employees have done weed trimming and cutting grass because obviously I'm friends with them. Well, have we always outsourced everything like this?
We have not always outsourced everything. As we have continued on over the years, this is my understanding, we have increased that. And the main reason for that is we only have 2 grounds guys, and they continue to get pulled off of grounds to do other things in maintenance. So we're going to have them focus on these high priority areas, mulching, rock, trimming bushes, those things that catch your eye when you pull up to a building. And also hopefully have them lead over a little bit into the maintenance area. And both of those guys are really good carpet layers with the carpet squares. We'll have them do that, a carpet replacement plan. We'll have them do some light painting so that we don't have to contract that kind of stuff out. So overall, we believe this will be an efficiency for us.
Let me get a
Do
little.
we need more employees?
Well, let me give some perspective on that. It's a good question. So in 2008, when Tom and I kind of started this role, we had 4 or 5 people on grounds, plus Tim Babbitt, who's the supervisor of grounds. But the challenging with that, because of the size district we are, is that we end up always hiring seasonal workers, college grad, Brian, Tom, Michael, other people. You used to work.
Tom here.
So you can't get people to do it that want to do it. And we don't want to go hire 4 or 5 people year round because we don't need them year round. So right now, we have, let's say it's 2.5 people on grounds. Right now, one of our gentlemen is inside working at the high school because this is our busiest time with them at the gym in that area. So it's kind of an efficiency thing. You know, our guys, I still believe, who's going to cut the athletic fields? I want to clarify that because will that be parks or our people?
That is part of this contract.
Okay, so that's an advantage. There is so much work that we could use another 2 or 3 full-time maintenance grounds type people, but from an efficiency standpoint, it's really better for us because if you watch parks do it compared to watching, I mean, it just from equipment to everything else, they do it well, they do it fast, and it's efficient because that's what they do.
So parks
It's $45,000 just for the high school in Warner Park for grass. You can hire an employee.
That's the whole district.
We'd have to buy.
Yeah, you can't find reliable, skilled workers. I mean, unless we're going to hire, and one human being can't do that, or 1.5 human beings can't do that we would employ them for the whole year. You can't find skilled people, and the danger from a workers' compensation standpoint, accident injuries, we have kids smash his hand. There's a lot of things that go into summer employment, and they're just not, it's, you know, we can hire 4 or 5 guys, and it just doesn't get done. Our organization has evolved, and we spend probably easily $50,000 less on an annual basis because of the number of employees we have, fewer today than we did when we started in 2008, 2010. We've just evolved to get the job done and to have it efficient and to have that many mows completed. In my opinion, it is worth the money because you have somebody or 2 people standing around from October till March 1st, literally. You don't have enough all-year work for them to do.
We fired some college kids in the past, but they don't come till May. Well, our mowing time is April, and our
They leave in summer.
It's a conundrum, and it's a difficult area.
If we took what we used to pay for grounds, had those people full-time, but we didn't really need them all, I mean, if we throw in the summer help, we're actually more efficient doing this. I know it looks like a huge chunk of change, but when you take 4 or 5 people and you're paying them, you're paying their benefits, if they are in your workman's comp, believe it or not, it's like custodians. We outsource custodians. It's more efficient because the bottom line is it's hard to get people to work.
And the equipment standpoint from that division, to own those Kubotas and all those things and the gasoline and the time it takes, it's quite an operation during that 6-7 months. And so when I don't have to buy an $8,000 or $6,000, and our equipment, is old and crappy. I mean,
There are a couple of those mowers that I use, and I haven't worked there for 13 years. So those are nearing the end of their lives as well.
It is a chunk of change, but when if you sit there, you did a balance sheet, it actually is much more efficient. And let's say we get a 2 weeks of rain, the good thing is they're gonna bring in more people to get it done, where our 2 guys that we had mowing, 2 to 3 guys, we can't keep up. And they do it, which allows us to get other things done.
They do all the field painting,
Field painting, all those different things.
It's just,
Well, that and they're
Always
clean
use that
and they're efficient. I
Yeah.
mean, they start at the crack of dawn and they have everything's mowed before the buses pull in. You can't, there's no grass clippings in anywhere. I mean, they do a nice job.
I retire in 5 to 7 years, and I will buy a Kubota because this is a great gig.
You can drive it to work.
Right?
Yeah. So we have a motion on the floor, and I think all our discussion is good. Yeah. Any further?
It's a great question, though, Rob.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passed. And a motion to approve donations. Is there one?
Motion.
Thank you. Was that Rob? Yeah. Thank you. Second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. And a motion to approve the field trip request.
I'll make a motion to approve the field trip.
Thank you, Rick. And a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed. And a motion to approve fundraiser request.
All motion.
Thank you, Aaron.
Second.
And a second by Rob, thank you. Any discussion on fundraiser? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. I don't think, do we have any policy and guideline considerations?
We do not.
We do not.
We are working, Steph and I are working on updated guidelines. We will give those to you here in the next month or so.
Okay. Committee and community reports. I just have one from the State House. It's not even that big a deal, but bills changed hands and things that are going to be heard are set now. And the teacher raise did not get, it's not going to be handled this year. They may visit it again next year, but it's not going to be handled again this year. So.
Well, there is a funding increase already in the budget.
Yeah, but not
next
an
year,
additional
but it's
one.
not an additional one.
Right.
So
Yeah.
overall, the funds go up.
It was a 2-year budget, right.
If our enrollment doesn't change, we'll have about $350,000 in mind. The enrollment has to stay.
Yeah, we need more kids. I'm sorry? Okay. Pass this down, please.
Yep.
Pass this down, please. Okay, well, the next thing is success stories. Any success stories?
The success story is there's no work session, and I'm passing out to you right now that I'll email you about later, so we can go home pretty soon. There is no work session.
That isn't, the 2 weeks is not going to happen? Is that, oh, you meant afterwards.
Yes, I'll send
Do
you.
we have a work session in 2 weeks?
Why
I have it in my mind, but maybe we don't.
I don't, well, if we do, we don't need one.
We canceled last month, but we didn't have one this, okay.
Yeah, we should be in pretty good shape, unless you guys have topics you want to discuss, we should be good.
No, I was just making sure. We have great kids, we love it. We'll go ahead, can we adjourn, or do you want to discuss this?
No,
Okay.
I'll send you an email, I'll take care of it real quick.
We'll go ahead and, motion to adjourn, please, at 8:25.
Motion.
Thank you, and a second?
Second,
All in favor?